to Unapologetics. I am Brently, and this is a podcast where we read a Christian article and explain why it's stupid. This one is kind of fun. It has to do with this whole Kirk Cameron trying to combat the drag queen story hour by basically going to those same libraries and be like, you gotta let me do my thing. You gotta let me do mine because you let the evils do the evil. So yeah, gotta let me do the good. Which I think we could all tell was bullshit. If anybody's unfamiliar with the story, don't worry, I'll get to it within the article. Um, but it's just kind of funny. Another one of those instances of Christian people acting like they don't have the immense amount of privilege that they obviously do. So this is some I just discovered this website. It's called standingforfreedom.com. Oh, Jesus. I wonder what that's in reference for. Jesus. Yeah, it's not, you can't do anything with sitting or kneeling or anything. That would be un-American. Un-American. Okay, so the name of the article is, it's the more, wait, that's not, Kirk Cameron discovers that if drag queens get to use the library, Christians don't. What? And it's at the end. I got even another article that's another Christian article, so that completely refutes this. It's delightful. It's just really funny. So the header, or whatever they want to call it, at the top here, it says the more drag queen story hour becomes the norm, the allowable expression of autonomy and individual freedom in a neutral regime, okay, the less space ultimately the other side will get. The other side here being Christians. So this is clear cut. They're trying to be like, look, if they have a thing, we lose our stuff. We lose stuff. Okay? We're losing freedoms because they have stuff. Because there might be some kids of folks that are actually cool with queer queer people that want their kids to be able to learn to, I don't know, not be fucking bullies. I know it's crazy. That might want to be able to bring their child to a drag queen story hour, and because they want to do that, the Christians are losing rights. That means that Christians lose rights. It doesn't really explain how it works, but it's that's what they said. They were literally trying to say, if they're allowed, if those queers are allowed to do stuff, then that means we're not allowed to do stuff. So yeah, get rid of that stuff. We got to get rid of that. So it says, yes to perverted men in sexualized women's clothing, reading to children. No to reading to children about God. You love they set this whole thing up like, oh yes, they're all going to see that, these evil libraries love gay people more than they love bigot Christians. That's the message that Christian movie star, filmmaker, and author, okay, Kirk Cameron is getting loud and clear from public libraries as he tries to promote his recent children's book, As You Grow. A book that celebrates family, like the normal family, the families, not the fucking weird, families, and teaches about faith and biblical wisdom. What the fuck does that mean? Honestly, just the family thing alone is just fuck you. Because they don't seem to get that, because they're always talking about the destruction of the family, and it's just so obnoxious because it's and we try to explain this every single at every turn, and it's almost like they know and they just like don't want to talk about it because they know that it's nonsense, right? Uh, because anytime you like question them about like what should people be allowed to do, it's all freedom, 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 freedom. Until it's like gay people and they're like, well, but they're gay, so of course they shouldn't have freedom to be like that. I mean, what you just said, everybody should have freedom. It's like crazy. It's like as soon as you switch the context to like gay and trans people, oh, then all of a sudden, like they don't believe in freedom anymore. you know, uh, but yeah, so they're just like pulling at this whole family thing and trying to make it seem like if there are queer people represented, in the world, whatever, anywhere, that is somehow destroying their nuclear family. Like all of a sudden, their family just like if a kid sees two dads on TV, that means the mom in their family just fucking disappears and turns into a dad. It's great. I know it doesn't even you don't even know how it works like that, but it destroys their family. you know, it just doesn't even make sense. Like, why do you care? Who gives a shit? Like, as long as they're not hurting anybody, who gives a fuck? My God, this stuff is so benign. It's like nothing. it's, Jesus. On Wednesday, December 7th, Fox News reported that, in quotes, Kirk Cameron cannot reach scores of American children or their families in many U.S. cities via the public library system because over 50 public libraries have either outright rejected him or not responded to requests on his behalf. Many of the same libraries that won't give Cameron a slot, however, are actively offering drag queen story hours or similar programs for kids and young people. Kids and young people. Can you believe that? Sorry. I mean, and just to be clear, like I was going to go over this like at the end, but this isn't true. I mean, I figure you probably already knew that. But yeah, this isn't true. He what he did was he went, he basically demanded that these libraries do the exact same thing that the story hours get, and then demanded that they pay for it, that the library pay for it. And when the library was just like, no, that's crazy, he was like, okay, cool, that's exactly what I wanted you guys to do. Okay, now let's go tell everybody hates Christians. Let's do it. Let's go, come on. Like that. That was like what they did pretty much here, because they all they did, they just made all like a list of demands, because the libraries came out and were like, dude, we fucking told him he could rent a room, we told him he could do like all the other stuff, like there's a bunch of other options he could have taken, and he's refusing to, and then is turning around and saying that we didn't give him any option. They gave him the option to rent a room and do book readings just like every other author that gets that. But I don't know what kind of thing with it is with the drag queen story hour, if that's like through I don't know, it's through a LGBTQIA plus like group or something. I'm not really sure how it works, but at the same time, like the drag queen story hour is not sitting there saying that everybody should hate Christians, so it's like it's not the same thing. They're not saying like Christians shouldn't be allowed to do X, Y, or Z. They're not doing that. They're just saying, hey, let's teach the kids some fucking self-acceptance for once, and maybe to not be a bully to kids that are different for being different. Like that's it. That's all the thing is about, Not to mention like the drag queens, the show. What is it called? RuPaul Drag Race. Kids fucking love that show. Like it's become like a sensation for kids, because I mean, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Everything about drag is over the top. It's exactly like all of kids everything else. Like any show that you watch where the leader of the or the whatever the main star of the show is some adult, usually being like, oh, and we got it, and they act like a cartoon, right? They act all over the top. Well, drag queens act like that anyway. That's like their whole thing. It's everything's over the top, everything's bright, everything's colorful, everything's funny, everything's, it's just over the top. Kids love that shit. It's perfect for them. you know, and it's not bigoted in any way, and it's not religious. So it's not like they're even taking like one religion over another. This is just people stuff, man. This is just it's something that transcends all religions. Like every religion and whatever like has people that are queer in it. Every single it doesn't matter like where they are on the planet, what religion, what race, what anything. There are queer people in that demographic, in that place. So it's not religious, it's not racial, it's not anything. It's not any like line. It's just queer. It's just like, hey, we're queer and it's okay, and that's it. And they're just like, no, you can't say that to kids. You can't tell kids that it's okay to be queer. That's what they're really mad about. They want us to. They want drag queens and everything to be addressed, but they want to address it in a way that's like that's evil and bad because my God said so. Like, and that's what they get mad that they have to teach. It's like, oh man, we had to have a conversation with our kids. Yeah, damn, this sucks. Now I gotta explain to them that their parents are assholes that believe that people should not be allowed to just wear the opposite gender's clothes. And that they're all going to hell for doing it. Jesus Christ. Why won't they let him read? They will. Some libraries officials say, but many made it clear that his Christian kids book doesn't match up with their values. Here is just a sampling of the responses. We are a very queer-friendly library. Our message does not align. You can fill out the form to reserve a space. So they even placed it in here. You can reserve a fucking space to run the program in our space, but we won't run your program, meaning we won't pay for it. Okay, because that's what he was demanding. He was saying that they have to provide everything, all the seating, all of the arrangements, and it's going to cost a lot of money for an event like that. And he's basically just demanding that the library pay for it. And I don't even know if the library does pay for the drag queen story hours. I bet you it doesn't. I bet you money there's some kind of organization around it helping to fund it. Because nobody's going to just pull money out like that, for an event that, I mean, that just, it doesn't make sense unless there's some sort of financial backing. But I don't know. I'm not sure about that at all. But yeah, they just didn't want to pay for it. So it's just kind of funny. But here's the second response. I don't think that's something that we would do. City Heights, Weingart? What? That can't be right. Weingart Branch Library in San Diego, California. That's pretty funny. That's an odd that's an odd name there. And that's basically, I don't think that's something we would do. Yeah, because they're not going to, again, they're just not, they're saying no to paying for everything and doing it themselves. And they even left in the last response that they, that they could rent a space if they wanted, like everybody else. And then it says, this is a third response. We have a strategic plan in place. So I bet this is like, oh man, freaking them out. So we are really looking at authors who are diverse, authors of color. That's really been our focus. Indianapolis Public Library. Yeah, see, that's like they have a strategic plan in place. Okay, to get rid of the whites. And that's what I said, like being diverse. They're like authors of color. Yeah, because like they, those authors weren't allowed to have any recognition for God knows how long. Until just fucking recently. So, yeah, they're trying to kind of, make up for the past bullshit, which I can't say I blame them. But as the report demonstrates, these libraries offer a host of pro-LGBTQ story hours and programming. When it comes to equal access to public libraries across the United States, it sure looks like Christians are getting second-class treatment. Well, you know what? You have the only treatment for fucking ever, okay? You're the only one that even had access to anything for God knows how long. Yeah, so take a back seat for a minute, man. Just calm down. You've had your privilege, this entire time. Relax. Okay. Jesus. Uh so now drag queen story hours become simultaneously something that's incredibly serious and something of a cultural shibo. I have no idea. What the fuck is that word? Shibboleth? What's a shibboleth in American politics? Shibboleth. So a shibboleth is a custom, principle, or belief distinguishing a particular class or group of people, especially a long standing one, regarded as outmoded or no longer important. The majority, under the influence of vague 19th century shibboleths, understood him to be associating himself with the doctrine that every nation has a right to be a sovereign state. Okay. So it's just like a. Alright, that makes sense. This is a custom or principle that distinguishes from a class. Uh, and especially a long standing one. Okay. Fair enough. Never heard that fucking word before, so I had to look that up. Shit. Let's see here. Alright, so the next line says the question of whether drag queens and then dash grown men dressing up in grotesque and sexually perverted mockeries of women's clothing. What? How do you define it that way? What a fucking asshole. That's not even what it is. It's just men dressing up as women and being like over the top, and having fun playing dress up. That's what it is. Jesus Christ. Like, they make it into this like evil thing, mockeries of women's clothing. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not a mockery. They're enjoying wearing the women's clothing. They're not mocking. It's just, again, very over the top because it's fun. Should be allowed to read books to children in public libraries. Burst onto the scenes by means of a 2019 debate between David French and Catholic political commentator Sohrab Amari. Someone like French argues that in order for public spaces to be fair and welcoming and neutral, they must allow things like Drag Queen Story Hour. Against this, Amari argued that taking your kids to a drag reading hour at the public library cannot be sustained without some level of moral approval by the committee. Autonomy maximizing liberalism is normative in its own twisted way. Okay, not really. Sure, they're saying like you got to be morally okay with it, I guess. But that's sort of the thing. It's like there is nothing intrinsically immoral about wearing a dress. That's not. There's nothing like that. That's like, even if you like make an argument that like if somebody, if you made an argument to like, oh, if they put this dress on, like kids get punched in the fucking face or something, like that might work. But like they got nothing. There's no way to prove any kind of actual harm like coming from a person putting on a dress and reading to children, in drag. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, it's so, oh my god, it's so nothing. It's just completely harmless. Holy shit. And Armory goes on like a prophet. Okay. The more that conservative liberals like French insist on autonomy, the more they strengthen the bully's position. Oh my good god, that is hilarious. Yeah, the drag folk, they're the bullies. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they're the ones doing the bullying. Yep, they're not the ones being bullied or anything. That's not like historically the way it's always been, and it's still being right now. The reason we have to like promote not bullying LGBTQIA plus folks, because it's just such a norm, especially from religious idiots. But this far with autonomy, they insist, but no farther. But why should the other side stop? Why shouldn't this new aggressive vision of maximal autonomy not overtake the old? The point here is that the more drag queen story hour becomes the norm, the allowable expression of autonomy and individual freedom in a neutral regime, the less space ultimately the other side will get. The other side here being Christians. So yeah, they're literally saying like if they're allowed to do this, then we lose a thing that they cannot put their finger on. They're just like, well, we lose it, and really, it's just their right to publicly be a bigot. Because that you got to remember, like before, the reason that they're having these uh like story hours and why they're freaking out is because back in the day they would have had the power to be like, no, fuck all the gay people, fuck all the trans people, fuck all the drag. And since they're not allowed to do that anymore, that's where that's where they feel like they're losing. But they're not actually losing anything. It's just other people are gaining the ability to not be oppressed by them. And because they don't have the ability to oppress anymore, they think that they have lost a right. But it really, they haven't. They should never have been able to do that in the first place. They shouldn't have been able to be seen as valid, while queer folks were seen as invalid. And now it's rightfully, hopefully, and permanently flipped because the religious feelings are not valid. I'm sorry, they're not. It's just that's not real. That's not how this works. And people are always trying to conflate the two and acting as though it's like the same thing. And it's just absolutely not. Believing something about yourself and just how you want to present yourself to the world is not the same thing as like things that you believe about the fundamental fabric of reality. you know, like uh, demons exist and ghosts and goblins and whatever, like all these other like talking donkeys and a guy coming back to life, right, and walking on water and fucking turning water into wine and all this other shit. Like those are things that they believe happened in reality. A trans person saying, "Yeah, I just want to live like this," is not the same thing. That is not, analogous at all. Not to mention, all of the psychological science has backed up the ability to transition and to be encouraging in that, because it's if like anytime when you're not in an environment that is encouraging as far as like validating their gender, it increases the risk of suicide by quite a lot. So yeah, and the reason we know this is because we've been through this for so long. We've like decades and decades. People, these psychiatrists and stuff were actually trying to fix the gay or whatever, fix the gay out of people or whatever, like, and they would literally be coming in saying, hey, can you make it so I'm not attracted to men anymore, right? And they tried to do it for the longest time, and we figured out every single thing that we possibly could as far as like science goes, uh, uh, as far as like being queer, and turns out it can't be done. It's not something that can happen. We've tried a lot, okay, and it just ended up traumatizing the people even more. So really, the psychology and psychiatry like basically have just agreed and come to the very reasonable conclusion based on data and evidence that we should teach self-acceptance to queer folks, in any way, shape, or form, like however you want to slice it, whatever. If you're trans or queer or just whatever, it's accept yourself. That's the most healthy mental thing to do, is accept yourself. And they hate that, but it's backed by science. It's this isn't we're not just making this up. We've tried it your way. It doesn't fucking work, okay? Which is why we've moved on to a different way with less harm, okay? So yet defenders of drag queens endure. In this recent screed against Christian nationalism, Georgetown professor Paul Miller who works for David French at the Dispatch, amazingly had this to say about Christians versus drag queens in the public library. How hard is it to say both drag queens and fundamentalist Christians can both use the library and host events there? This isn't especially hard, no matter how deep original sin goes, no matter the noetic, the the poetic, is that no? I don't know. Effects of the fall, and if it is possible, it is also desirable. Drag queens are people too, and no matter our views on their sexuality, they are tax paying citizens and deserve equal treatment under the law and thus equal access to public resources. Okay. And so now he's responding to that, the author here. How hard is it? Well, as Kirk Cameron is learning the hard way, and by extension, the rest of us, it appears that if you argue that drag queens and Christians should have equal access to public libraries, the reality is that only one of those groups will get access, and it won't be the Christians. Ooh. Yeah, because you guys are the bigots, man. You're the ones like getting up there and be like, okay, kids, now let's hate some people, okay? Let's do it. Let's hate. Like, everybody ready to hate? Everybody ready to make fun and bully and be bullies? Yeah. Amory was right because neutrality is a myth. Everything is a moral judgment. The libraries had to pick a side in the culture war, just like the rest of us. They chose the fabulous. As such, the faithful, like Cameron, are locked out. They the fabulous. Hell yeah, who wouldn't pick the fabulous over Kirk Cameron? What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Shit, that's like a no-brainer. Like, really? You're like, yeah, dude. No, I'm definitely going with fabulous. Yep, let's do that. Nope. Or bigot? No, let's go with fabulous. Yeah, sorry. Like, let's go with fabulous or the group of crazy people that fucking hates them. The fabulous. Let's what do we decide? Jesus. From a Christian worldview, and French and Miller do call themselves Christians, the answer here is obvious. Of course, drag queen story hour shouldn't be allowed, and of course, Kirk Cameron reading Christian children's books should. This actually isn't hard, as Miller says. He just gets it wrong. But you haven't made an argument for why. You're just saying that, like, we're just supposed to do this and they're not supposed to because they're bad. Like, that's your whole argument is like the argument is like ooh, gross. Like, that's and like that's supposed to be persuasive in any way. It's so funny. They just talk about stuff as if everybody is as batshit crazy as they are. It was like, what do you mean? Everybody has to hate gay people. Everybody has to hate, drag queens. What do you mean? This is crazy. This is crazy. You're supposed to hate drag queens with me. What are you doing? And again, they were given the ability to do this. They just refused so that they could go on this whole tangent so that Kirk Cameron could just sell some more books, man, because their little persecution complex thing they got, because they're just so mad that they're not able to persecute everybody else the way they used to. And now they're like, we're the ones being persecuted because we can't even be at the library reading to kids and telling them to hate gay people because family is with one man, one woman, family. Fuck. God damn it. Jesus. The Bible is rather outspoken on the reality that men are men and women are women, and that neither sex should pretend to be the other. Well, good thing nobody's doing that. Nobody's pretending to be the other, so you're good. Deuteronomy 22:5 says that a woman must not wear men's clothing, nor a man wear women's clothing. For the Lord your God detests anyone who does this. Yeah, and it also says you can beat your slave as long as they don't die of a direct result. But if they get up after a few days, you haven't done anything wrong because they're just property. That's just human property. So, Yeah, clearly the Bible is the arbiter of fucking morality. Like, Jesus. Uh, this question, this creation order moral command, not exclusive to Old Testament Israel. Oh, okay, because you need to clarify that. I'm like, that's the Old Testament. Jesus died so that we can throw that in the trash, right? I mean, that's the. Is echoed by Paul in First Corinthians. Oh, see, here he goes, where he says, "Does not the very nature of things teach you that if a man has long hair, it is a disgrace to him?" It's like, don't have long hair. That's funny. What about, didn't Jesus have long hair? I guess we don't know. Uh, what, how Jesus did his hair. If he existed at all, of course. But yeah, it's I don't know. I always assumed that like back then everybody had long hair. That's the way they're always showing it in movies and stuff. Because like, did they have razors? They have like shears and shit. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Kind of weird though. Cross dressing for adult drag shows is bad enough, but it's bad enough. God damn, these people are assholes. But insisting on the freedom to perform drag in front of kids and in a public space and a library at that, rejecting such a toxic brew of cultural debauchery should be a no-brainer. No, the no-brainer is rejecting the fucking psycho bigots that believe in nonsense and use a book that has slavery, that says slavery is okay, to like say it's not okay to wear women's clothes. Like, clearly we don't really give a fuck about that, garbage written 2,000 years ago by sheep herders, in the middle of the fucking Bronze Age. Like, Jesus Christ, come on. Apparently we have quite a few scarecrows running around trying to tell Christians how to think about faith and politics. How's that working out for us? Ooh, big dig right there. See, he's like, I'm the truest of true Christians because I call out anybody, like I call out other Christians. So it makes me, I get extra points with the big guy. Yeah. Lest you miss the crucial point, allow me to take out my rhetorical red pen and underline the fact that the battle for cultural supremacy, what? Between Christianity and the LGBTQ agenda and radical gender theory is a zero-sum game. Okay? One of these religions will have access to the public square and public spaces. One of these religions will get to fly their flag. One of these religions will have its First Amendment rights protected, and one will not. That's just not true. You still have, you still have your First Amendment right. They literally said you could fucking rent a space and do the same thing. They're just not going to pay for it, man. It's crazy that they can go through all this and still be like not getting that. It's even in the article. It's not even like they're really trying to hide it. They're just like so like, but they think that this is just so crazy, the drag queen thing, that they're like, they should just listen to us, just do what we want. What? This is crazy. They're just like, because they are crazy. They don't understand. It's like, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna be like, like swept out of its existence. And then see how they're like calling the LGBTQ agenda, they're calling and gender theory, they're calling it a religion, which is so weird to me. Why do they keep on? They do this all the time when they're like, oh, it's not a religion, it's a relationship. Like, they don't like the word religion, and then they say like evolution is a religion, climate change is a religion. Like, everything is a religion. That it's so, like, no, man, religion actually has a fucking meaning, and it's your thing and just your thing, because like tons of religions and tons of cultural background, all different backgrounds, all have queer folks. Okay, they're not part of any. It's not any one religion. It's like a few people in every single demographic. So it doesn't really matter. It's not the same thing as a religion. Like, a religion is just this one belief system. That usually goes with like cultural stuff and everything like that too. Like, usually have like one culture, one religion. and stuff like that, right? For whatever demographic it is. Um, and then you're always going to have queer folks in there too, because it's not a religion. They're not out looking for each other to be like, yeah, let's. Hey, do you believe the same thing we do? Oh, okay, come on, let's all hang out. Like they're not doing that. They're just popping up everywhere because that's the nature of being queer. Is just you know so much. A very small percent of the population is going to be queer. Like that's of any population. Doesn't matter where it's at. That's not a religion, man. Like that is just not the same thing. Choose therefore this day both you and your house whom you will serve. Like, okay, getting a little bit. It sounds. It almost reminds me of like something that would be from Lord of the Rings. Choose therefore this day both you and your house whom you will serve. It's it has that feel. Kirk Cameron has chosen wisely. It's Indiana Jones thing. Anyway, in a recent interview with the Christian Post, Cameron declared that he will not back down after more than 50 public libraries that host drag queen story hours rejected or ignored his offer to read his new Christian children's book, As You Grow. The Post further reports, despite blatant discrimination, oh God, um, Cameron is unwavering in standing up for Christ and family values amid the cultural darkness, as numerous historic figures did in years and centuries past when they faced far greater challenges. Okay. In the face of intolerance against his children's book, he charged Christians to rise up and combat the cultural wars by peacefully not backing down. I love how like they will put like they always do that double speak thing where they're like get riled up, but let's keep it. Hey, I said peacefully. Like that word was in there. I know I said combat peacefully, but it's like hey, I said peacefully. Okay, I'm exempt from any responsibility because I said peacefully. Uh, he's right. Christians absolutely should not back down. Drag Queen Story Hour might sound somewhat silly, but the deeper reality is deadly serious. This is a spiritual war. Clearly, the devil as the devil. Clearly, yeah, the devil. Clearly, the devil has captured many of the American public libraries, but that doesn't mean Christians can't take them back. And let's not settle for the libraries. Let's get the schools. Holy shit. This is where it gets freaky. The colleges, okay, well, the churches, and the country too. Like, it just keeps growing. Like, why not just say the world? Get the fucking world. We'll have world domination. We decide the only Christianity is taught in the world. Yeah. Fuck everybody. We rule the world. Kirk Cameron might not get to read his book in the library, but he can have the last word. Here in my column, here is his advice to Christians. So this is a little excerpt from Kirk Cameron because he was like, "Hey, buddy, can you just like write down a little paragraph for me, and I'll put it at the end of my article, please?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, of course, I would love to." I don't know why he always, for me, every time I do a Kirk Cameron, he sounds like the guy from Futurama. Yeah. But we need to have heroes rise up out of the cultural darkness and pressure of our time and begin to apply these same truths in modern America and around the world so that we can see a great awakening again. We need all hands on deck. The family of faith needs to get off the defense and get on the offense. Yeah, that's wow. Okay. Right. All of a sudden, we got to start, really attacking the queer folk. We've never done that before. We've never attacked the queer folk before. We just have, we're just constantly telling them how much we don't hate queer folk. So, Jesus. And when we do, we will join that great cloud of witnesses from the past. We will be part of God's loving army of compassion that cannot be stopped, and the gates of hell cannot prevail against it. Fucking what? That is insane. Okay, so it's so funny out there, like, and we all, like, they just throw words together, like, we will be part of God's loving army. It's like, how do you fucking put loving and army together? Like, we're gonna attack everybody with love, with love. Army of compassion. What the fuck, dude? You're sitting here like hating like queer people. You're all mad that they get to that there's a story hour for queer folks, but not for Christians. Jesus Christ, how fucking stupid. So, here's the ironic part. They're actually messing with their own narrative here now, because to combat for so other there's these other pastors, other two other pastors who have decided that they are going to fight back against the drag queen story hours too. So let's see here. This is the headline. I don't think I'm going to read the whole thing. This is from CBN News. Um, and real quick, I want to make sure I include the author of the last article. I think is William Wolf. Let me just double check. Let me see, because I want to make sure I include that. Yeah, William Wolf. And but the headline of this one, this is from CBN News, Christian broadcast network. And it says push back on evil. The pastors hit back at drag queen story hour with their own library project. I thought they weren't allowed to do that. Huh. Weird. With Drag Queen Story Hour continuing to pop up in locations across the U.S., two pastors are on a mission to push back with their own effort to install a biblical worldview in children. Wow, what a weird. Oh, instill. And it's still creepy sounding. Like, of course, I read it, install a biblical worldview. Pass me the screwdriver there. Yeah, I just got to take this plate off of the kid's head, and then I can get this biblical worldview in there. You know. uh, so Dale Patridge and Michael Foster, or Partridge. Oh, like the family. Okay, got it. Dale Partridge and Michael Foster have joined forces to create Pastor Story Hour, an effort sparked after Foster started a conversation on Twitter about the need to stop complaining about Drag Queen Story Hour and start taking action. Partridge told CBN Faithwire, there's a show called Faithwire. Stupid. He saw Foster write that Christians should start an alternative effort. So Partridge promptly texted Foster about joining arms, and Pastor Story Hour became a reality. I went down to the local library and I scheduled a time to do Pastor Story Hour. Partridge said it happened to work out because I just wrote a new book called Jesus and My Gender. Good God, fuck. It's like a kid's book that really amplified discussion. Jesus Christ, gross. But the point is, they were easily able to get down there. He said at the one point he said he was like, it took like 5 minutes. I don't know. I went down and signed the thing, and it took like 5 minutes. And it's just funny because like the whole narrative on in order to sell Kirk Cameron's stupid fucking children's book was that they're not allowed to be in the library, which is kind of funny because then they turn around and these two guys are like, well, I was able to do it. What the fuck? Like, why yeah, because they never told him no. They just didn't like meet. They just didn't say that they would answer all of his demands. Because they wanted like several different things. Not only were they wanting to pay for it, they also wanted to, like, they needed people to watch it and everything. Like you need people there to like watch over the kids, and it was just all like stuff like that. Like, and they wanted the library to provide 100% of all of it, and they didn't. And but then Kirk Cameron was like, "Oh, we can use this," but I think he knew from the beginning he wasn't ever planning on actually doing his reading there. The whole point was to just be like, look, the Christians are the actual ones that are actually being oppressed, and the queer folks are actually the bullies here. That's like what they're trying to, that's the narrative they're trying to instill or install, either way, into the minds of their readers and viewers and stuff. So it's just, the whole thing's just really ironic, but it's also really gross. Just the way this whole thing is working out. I really don't like, doing these articles on like such like culturally sensitive topics and whatnot. Because I don't want to feel like I'm laughing at people's pain and whatnot. Because that's not what I'm doing at all. I am making fun of the assholes that are trying to, put the pain on people. That's who I'm gonna. That's who I'm gonna fight against and make fun of and everything like that. But every so often, I do like come across these, and I'm just like, I gotta fucking do it. Because most of the time, I'll just do silly articles. You know what I mean? Like where they're just saying stuff that's just stupid. But we need to keep in mind that yeah, these people are just stupid, but they're also fucking super dangerous and harmful and hateful, and they think they're right, and that's it's a very dangerous thing that they believe that they were ordained by the God of the fucking universe to get rid of queer people, and make it so that they have no real space in this country. I mean, let's face it, they don't want them to have any actual space. They want them to be pushed off to the edges of obscurity and just like stay there, and everybody has to just pretend like they're not in existence. And if they are in existence, like we don't talk about them being what they are, whatever. That's what they want. That's what Christians want. They want them to just be quiet, stay off to the side, don't ever make yourself known, just hide, 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 hide. Which is sort of the whole point of pride, 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 because fuck those assholes. It's like, and I can't say I fucking blame them, because holy shit, fuck those bigot assholes. Who gives a fuck about their goddamn God? Especially when they're this bigoted and just this dishonest too. I mean, it's just like, Kirk Cameron is literally trying to like, just make an entire narrative that he's not even able to do a thing. Like, oh, they're not letting me do it, but they're letting these drag queens, and then turn around and like two other pastors like, we could do it. I don't know what did you did you like make demands or something and say that they had to do all this stuff so that they would definitely say no, so that you could pretend to have been persecuted? Oh, you did do that. That was he's nodding his head. Yes, he's nodding his head. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's okay. Well, that's why that is then. All right. So thanks so much for listening. I am again. I'm Brently, and you can follow me on Facebook if you want. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/unapologetics, spelled like the show. Check it out on YouTube. If you want to watch it on YouTube, it's a lot of extra content that I do, just sort of reviews of different crazy Christian videos. And they're getting pretty wild lately, so yeah, it's kind of fun. But and if you want to email the show, give us a shout out at unapologetics666@gmail.com. And yeah, and what do we say to the haters, discriminators, and masturbator shamers? Fuck